In the U.S., former President Donald Trump is being criticized over comments that he made about Kamala Harris's racial heritage.
Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't.
Well, he made that comment at the country's largest annual gathering of black journalists, with about 1,000 in attendance in Chicago, shortly after the vice president responded.
Donald Trump spoke at the annual meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists. And it was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect. And let me just say, the American people deserve better.
Harris spoke in Houston, where she also vowed to reinstate reproductive freedoms. Americans head to the polls in 95 days. And many are still talking about those comments that Donald Trump made yesterday about Harris's heritage. Joining us live now is Faiza Amin of CityNews Toronto, who was in Chicago and in attendance at that, well, what do we call it there? It was definitely an interview, but it was an interview that is sending shockwaves out into the U.S. and beyond with Trump's reaction. Faiza, first of all, what was it like being in the room at the time? Because it sounds like that interview just kind of went off the rails immediately.
Yes, so that interview took less than an hour, but let me tell you, there was so much build up to it. So Tammy, you explained that this is happening at the National Association of Black Journalists. And so a couple of days ago, they posted that this event would be happening, that Donald Trump would be appearing at this convention here. And it's something that they've done for decades. They've invited presidents, presidential nominees, Barack Obama, Bush, for decades now. So they said that this is something in line with what they've been doing for quite a while here, but others saw it as controversial. You're inviting this person here who, has made some comments about the Black community, about Black leaders, and you see, based on this event here today or yesterday, has been clashing with reporters, Black reporters, when it comes to them asking him simple questions. And so there were people who were turned away from this event. This is a room that can take, I believe, 2,000. Security was tight, and outside, Tammy, there were protesters as Trump arrived. And so a lot of this chatter got underway before he even spoke. And within seconds of him taking that stage, and Rachel Scott, who is one of the panel members there, asking him that first questions about his comments he's made in the past, things got tense. He went into attack mode and called her fake news in about mere seconds. So it was interesting to be in that room. There was a lot of energy, is what I can say.
Yeah, and you can hear from the audience as well when he was answering some of the questions that there was a splattering of applause here and there, a lot of boos or moans and that kind of thing. What was the vibe within the audience itself?
There was, I would say for the most part, I don't believe he had a lot of supporters in that crowd. There were maybe 2 or 3 people in that crowd who cheered for him, maybe several more that I couldn't hear because it was quite a big room there. But there was one woman I saw with a mega hat there. So he did have some support, not that much. There was a lot of frustration in that room, as well, as these journalists were asking him questions about his past, about his what he's about his record, about his plans on some important issues that are central in the Black community here. And so there was some frustration that he wasn't answering or addressing those questions as much as they'd liked. And this was the moment where things turned pretty contentious, and it was just seconds from when the event started.
Yeah, right after that first question, Faiza. And lastly, I know that you're continuing at the conference, of course, there today in Chicago as that continues, the NABJ, a huge conference there. Do you think that this, again, will be part of the general discussion as the conference continues, because it has caused shockwaves throughout the country with his responses?
Absolutely. It was definitely a talker here throughout the day and throughout the night yesterday of who was there, who refused to be in that room, people who didn't agree that this event should have been happening, but also people who felt it was important. And a lot of the questions that were asked to the former president, Donald Trump, here are issues that are being discussed at this very conference. And so these are important policies, important questions that people are going to be discussing throughout the week and right into the weekend here. And I think this chatter is going to continue, and it's definitely a conversation starter of people walking up and saying, "Did you go?" And I say, "Yeah, I did. Did you go?" And everyone has their own personal reasons, but I think at the end of the day, this is an important. An important conversation, an important election. And by the way, the Democrats will be here in Chicago on, I believe, August 19th for their convention. And so there's a lot happening in Chicago right now. All eyes are in Chicago. And the latest reason being why is that Donald Trump made this stop here.
Definitely. So it's Faiza Amin from CityNews Toronto, live from Chicago. Enjoy the rest of the NABJ conference there later on. Thanks so much for taking the time and joining us.
Thanks for having me.